So we're in Johannesburg, and I got a call from Atlanta saying, hey, listen, Oprah Winfrey's coming to town. I said, really? What's happening? They said, she just spent $50 million of her own money. That was back then in 2005, 2006, of her own money, building a school. She's calling it the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls. Her own money. She's going to get girls from the inner city, girls from the slums who have passed well and have good grades, and she's going to provide free education for them. I said, my goodness, who does that? So they said, find out where she is. Let's get a story. Boom, we found out. On this particular day, she was going to be in Soweto. She was in town, and she was literally interviewing the girls in their homes herself. She wanted to know where they lived. You know, typical Oprah. Where do they live? Who are their families? Let me go and find out. So there we are in Soweto, waiting. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I'm telling myself, my God, this is the queen of talk shows. How am I going to respond? How do I get, what do I say? As I'm thinking in my head, Miss Winfrey, Oprah, what do I say? Motorcade rolls up. Out jumps Oprah. She looks at me and says, hey, Jeff, I watch you all the time. Can you imagine? I was dumbstruck. And right there, we struck an accord. So she enters the home of the kids. She interviews them. They spend some time. They have some tea. Goes to the next house, the next house, the next house. And in between, I'm asking questions. I'm saying, why are you doing this, Oprah? You don't need to do this. I said, look, it's important. The only way we're going to rise up as a continent is if we go from the ground up. These kids, they're the next generation. They're the ones we need to nurture. They're the ones who are going to pull us up. Sure enough, a few weeks later, the ceremony where she's going to announce that the first 39 girls have been accepted at the Oprah Winfrey Academy for Girls. By the way, that academy was being built in a place called Henny on Slip, just outside Johannesburg. It was being built at the same time. So as it's being built, she announces these are the 39, and a few months later, that's when the school will be open. And I'm there, we're there filming at this ceremony, and she announces. These kids have no clue. They've come with their parents. They just told Oprah's gonna be there, she's gonna make an announcement. They're there with their folks, Oprah's on stage. She says, all of you here, all of you are gonna be part of the first class of the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls. My God, you should have heard the screams that day. The ululation, the response from the kids and their parents. Unbelievable. They ran on stage. They hugged Oprah. It was unbelievable. And then Oprah, I remember this line so vividly. She turns to all the kids and the parents and she says, I remember this line. Many of you often ask me why I didn't have children. The reason I didn't have children is because you, all of you, are my children.
For many years, people always ask me, why didn't I have children? Why didn't I have children? Now I know why I didn't have children, because I now have all of these daughters. All of these daughters. And I want you to know that these are now our daughters.
Hearing these words and witnessing this act of kindness and selflessness can humble even the most cynical and pessimistic of us.
You will be a part of the very first class of the Oprah Winfrey.
No one expects Oprah to go on to save the world, but just look at the faces of these girls and look how one woman's gesture has literally turned their lives around.
There was not a dry eye in the house that day, including me. I couldn't believe it. Oprah Winfrey has just said this, and she's just done this. This gesture is life-changing, as it turned out to be. A few months later, now she comes back to South Africa. Now she's inaugurating this. She's opening the school. And guess who's with her on that day? The likes of Spike Lee, Chris Rock, Mariah Carey, Sidney Poitier, a whole host of superstars accompanying Oprah to open a school. I tell you, man, it was like a Hollywood setting. Incredible. And there was Oprah in the middle of it all. And of course, Madiba. By the way, the school was a promise to Nelson Mandela. Because Nelson Mandela had called her one time and says, "Oh, Oprah, why don't you do something for all?" Oprah wanted to give money, for some cause or something. He said, "No, Oprah, build a school. Build a school to last." And there he was that day in 2006 in the school with the girls in their uniform and all these movie stars from Hollywood. And there we were filming. I tell you, folks, I felt I was in the presence of greatness.
And just like that, 150 young lives were transformed in an instant.
What does this mean, this moment right now? What does it mean?
It is a complete full circle moment in my life. I feel like it's what I was really born to do. And that's what all of that fame and attention and money was for. It feels like the complete circle of my life.
As for cousins Lebohang and Palesa,
I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. I'm just happy.
I'm just waiting for next year. On the 1st of January.
I'm just waiting for that day.
Let's walk the walk.
there's an old African proverb my mother once told me that goes something like this: education is like a garden. You water it and it blooms. You neglect it and it shrivels up and dies. In this tiny corner of Africa, one woman is busy watering the gardens of tomorrow, one girl at a time.
Viva Oprah Winfrey, viva!
Jeff Koinange, CNN, Soweto.
Literally a week later, I get another call from Atlanta. "Hey, guess what? Your homeboy is coming back to town." I said, "My homeboy? Who's that?" They said, "Have you heard of Senator Barack Obama?" I said, "I've heard the name. Sounds Kenyan." They said, "Yeah, he's originally from Kenya. He's coming back to Kenya. And he's going to travel all the way to his father's village. You need to be there because they're talking about him being the next presidential candidate." I said, "Really?" Get a flight to Nairobi, fly directly to Kisumu, go to Kogelo. There we are, Kogelo. There we are. Before he arrives, by the way, we want to do a preview. We find the place, we're directed to his grandmother, Mama Sarah. We find her, we interview her, we do a story about his village, his father growing up in Kenya before he went to America, married a woman, lived in Hawaii. Barack was born in Hawaii. The father left them, went to Harvard, where he finished his education, found another woman there, flew with her to Kenya. So Barack, obviously the direct link. And his father had died in a car accident back in 1987. This is 2006, 2007. Barack Obama had not been back home since. This was his first time back. And he was bringing his kids to meet their grandmother. Can you imagine? Their great-grandmother, by the way, because this was Obama's grandmother. So this was their great-grandmother, Mama Sarah. So there we are. We film, we do the preview, it goes out well. The next day, we're at the airport, we're waiting for the senator to arrive. And I tell you, Kisumu was like this, jam-packed. Everybody could relate. They had inaugurated a new beer, by the way, called Senator, named after Obama. It was selling like hotcakes. Sure enough, the man arrives at the airport, clears immigration, walks out. We're waiting for him outside. There's a whole bunch of people. And I said, Senator Obama, Jeff Koinange, can we talk to you? I said, "Hey, Jeff, that was a good story last night you did. I watched it in my hotel room in Nairobi." And I said, "Wow, my goodness, what a personality." So we ended up spending the rest of the day with him. He did an HIV/AIDS test in public just to show the people that it was okay. Then he went back to his grandmother's place, the whole reunion with him, his kids, Michelle, the grandmother. Incredible. And there we were, and patiently filming the whole thing. There's a speech by the local MP, speech by the locals, the whole thing. At the end of the day now, obviously they were tired and they wanted to leave, go back to the hotel. And I said, "Mr. President, can we get a few words?" And I had carried a copy of this book right here, Dreams from My Father. I had carried a copy with me, and I said, Mr. Senator, he wasn't president, can you autograph this? And he says, "Sure, Jeff." And I said, "Could you autograph it to my wife?" And there it is, to Shyla, all the best, Barack Obama. Imagine that. And I said, yes. By the way, we asked him, there's talk of you wanting to run for president. He says, right now, I'm here in Africa just doing whatever congressional committee and whatever. He completely brushed it off. Little did we know that this man, a year later, he would declare his candidacy for the presidency of the United States and then campaign 2008, become the first African-American president of the United States, number 44. Who would have thunk? Fast forward a bit, he was in Kenya in about, 2016? I think, his last year, 2015, 2016. And he was at State House with President Kenyatta. And I was there. Remember the Sauti Soul concert in the evening? Oh my God. And he was dancing, Sauti Soul was dancing, we were all dancing. Now to see the former senator, now president in Kenya again. Oh my God. And he looked at me and we exchanged a little, and he says, good to see you. As he was walking away, I tell you, man, what a man. What a man.